Today I created a diorama for the Flamingo and the Inquisitor. It is the first time I work with a lot of these materials and the first time I even create such a display. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing, so let's see what comes out today. And without further ado, let's just start. First, I needed a piece of XPS foam that I cut into the same size as the large square base from a future project. I used the base itself as a template to copy the length and width of it onto my little piece of XPS foam. And after that I placed the miniatures on their soon-to-be places to visualize the idea. The idea was to create a little hill, but I realized I had to remove a little bit of material first, so I get an actual height difference here for our two opponents. After I roughly shaped some kind of an elevation, I thought I might as well shape some kind of cave for the underside. It's the first time I try this, so if I ruin this, I ruin this on multiple points. Look at me using actual tools to get a 90-degree angle here. Absolutely professional. I also tried to give the backside of the display a cliff-like appearance. And after that I placed the XPS foam onto that Warhammer base, pressing a 40 and 50mm base into it as a template so that the bases could actually sink in. And when that was done, I mixed a little bit of plaster and covered the whole XPS foam to have a protective layer, and also the first layer that will actually look like environment. Even though it looks like the environment of the moon. I have to say I was actually surprised how fast this one dries out. As I said, I've never worked with such a material up until this point. And when it was dry, I went on with a little bit of ground texture to create a little more detail on that surface. The idea was to smoothen out the hard edges between the hill and the ground, where the Inquisitor will stand very soon. After I gave the hillside a coat of AK Interactive's Dark Earth, I went on with small pebbles that I just sprinkled onto the still wet texture paste. And when that was done, I added some Warhammer scenery to create something like a last remnants of an old ruin. And I also added these decorative glass stones. And for the cave, I thought it fitting using some sticks and bark, so this cave looks as natural as possible. And to make it not look as natural as possible, I glued on some cables to the ceiling. Maybe somebody lives there in the not so distant future and he needs that for hanging up his fishes. We will see. And after I glued on all these rocks, I defined the areas around them using AK Interactive's Dark Earth once again. And while you see me working, I want to welcome the newest Patreon, Nightwolf. Thank you for the support, man. And I thought I could use a little bit of grass here and there, but as I really didn't like the color that I had on hand here anyway, I might as well sprinkle that on now to be able to paint it again later. And when the grass was in place, I picked out some areas where I thought a crackle paint would look natural. And when that was done, I primed the entire thing with a zenithal highlight to make it ready for some airbrushing. It survived the primer relatively unharmed, only having a small area where the plaster seemed to be broken off, but that won't be noticeable. The first step was to brighten up some areas with Vallejo's Grey Blue to have a little more bluish color variation right from the start. And when that was done, I used Citadel's Wildwood contrast for the earth, followed by the thinned down version of Gryffstalker Orange. I wanted to lean towards some kind of an autumn or fall look here, so browns, oranges and yellows will be the main feature here. And when that was done, I went all over it using Vallejo's Sun Yellow, and for the soon-to-be water inside that cave, I used Dark Sea Blue. And now it was time for a little bit of brushwork, redefining the earth with some brown tones like dried bark and Catachan brown, and for the structure as well as all the stones and rocks, I wet blended browns and greys together. Only keeping in mind that I want the brightest part to be where the sun would catch it. And when that was done, it was time for the grass. That got a coat of burnt red, followed by parasite brown, as well as a little highlight of elfic flesh. I wasn't that neat here by intent. I had a little bit of overspill onto that rocks and mud areas of that display, so everything gets tied together a little more. My thinking was, when I add all these tufts in the end, it won't be noticeable anyway. But I wanted these rocks to stand out. They are a prominent feature on the miniatures base as well, so they get a final touch of wolf grey and up to white. And as the cave was an experiment within the experiment, I thought I'd just paint the rocks turquoise again, letting some of that Dark Angel's green shining through near the bottom of them. I only tried to catch the most raised details with a 50-50 mix of wolf grey and dark sea blue and a final touch of pure wolf grey. And as I wanted to have at least some water effects here, I used the small bars on that Warhammer terrain bit to achieve that. Maybe it's some kind of a drainage or something. And for the last step, I painted this small, maybe unhealthy guy and added some tufts. Or let's say a lot of them. And when that was done, I tri-fitted the miniatures to see if they actually sink into the base a little more seamlessly. And after that I added more tufts, but as I don't want to bore you, here's the first one and here's the last one. And after that I painted up a small Kid Bash guy in the colors of Slanesh. Maybe he's a little demon familiar who got away and lives a happy life inside this cave. That is also a little bit wet, using AK Interactive's still water. And when that was dry, it is time for the glamour shots. So even if this isn't the most mind-blowing display you've ever seen, I think it holds up quite decently. And as it is the first try, I am very happy how it turned out. I gotta get an eye for shapes and overall composition of such a build, so if you want to see some more small Warhammer related dioramas in the future, you gotta hit that subscribe button and leave a hype for the hype gods, and we are going to see each other in the next one.